My comrades and colleagues will come and make their comments. The first question was about the problems of sewer in Mogale City as to exactly what is it that we are doing as ANC-led provincial government, but as well as COGTA nationally working together with the municipality to address the mentioned matter. I would believe that the colleague from ENCA who raised this question on Wednesday, we were together at the Gauteng turnaround strategy summit together with almost all the municipalities in the province and together with the MEC and the Premier of the province. And this matter was raised as a question and it was sufficiently responded to. And the response was that the provincial department of COGTA, led by MEC Mamabulo, working together with the municipality, they have been on site to basically assess the state of the affairs with regard to that sewer plant. And the feedback was that the situation is not very good, it's very bad. There's raw sewer that is spilling into some personal properties of people that side, and therefore the municipality made a very clear commitment to all of us that they are going to, within a very short space of time, in fact they were given 2 days to come up with a plan on how firstly they are going to stop the flow of the sewer before they could basically come up with a long-term solution of resolving that wastewater treatment plant and therefore stop the sewer spillage. So we are very much clear and committed, and we're looking forward to the municipality finalizing the process. It is not necessarily about them not having the resources or the province being unable to manage that situation. It is an issue of the engineering capacity so much required, the timeous speed with which the municipality was supposed to have resolved that matter. So from here, most probably, we'll be paying very close attention to the work done by the municipality under the supervision of the provincial government and the Department of COGTA in Gauteng in particular. So it's a matter that is receiving the attention of the government, the department, and together with the provincial government. That is the first matter which I will respond to. The second one is with regard to the work that Comrade Parkstar was given by the National Executive Committee to deal with matters of intervention, to deal with matters of stabilizing the sector, the extent to which the ANC subcommittee has worked so far. We can report the following. We have been able to do a very serious assessment of the work done, and there are very clear pillars of local government transformation which we are working around them to make sure that we stabilize these municipalities. One key amongst them all, it is about us focusing and as well as aligning the leadership responsibility of those municipalities, because these municipalities are in various categories. We do have a pocket of excellence in the country. We do have municipalities which are under distress, and that is where we are focusing on to deal with matters of governance, deal with matters of leadership, the extent to which we are working hard to professionalize municipalities by enforcing the implementation of the sets and the adopted regulations and the legal framework around selection, employment, and as well as decisions related to HR development and HR management. So the whole area around professionalization of our municipalities is one such issue that we are intervening very closely as the African National Congress. So the extent to which we develop institutional capacity of those municipalities, we are hard at work because almost all of them, to a large extent, they had to rework on their organizational structures to be able to be fit for purpose, and the extent to which they could be aligned to perform their responsibilities. It's a matter that we are closely monitoring going forward. There is also a problem that relates to project management capabilities or capacities. We have put together a team through MISA, which is Municipal Infrastructure Support Agency of the department, because we have housed a number of technical skills from engineering, planning, and as well as finances, so that at any given time we can release and deploy these colleagues to those various municipalities to basically intervene. We have a memorandum of agreement with Engineering Council of South Africa, because they do have a number of engineers that are on site, so that at any given time where there's a need, we are able to send these engineers on site to basically help these municipalities with regard to their areas of work. So I could broadly say stabilization of these municipalities remains our preoccupation, and the extent to which the president has triggered a process in eThekwini with regard to stabilization of the metropolitan municipalities. That work has gone very far with regard to, rolling out work around a number of work streams that are intending at stabilizing the city. We are replicating the very same work in other cities of our country, including the metros, so that broadly we can have a portfolio working together with National Treasury to deal with these matters. That work which Comrade Park started resulted in the president appointing an interministerial committee, so that a dedicated team of ministers in government coming from various service delivery oriented departments that are very relevant to work in the space of municipalities can complement each other, so that our communities, the people of our country, can be able to benefit from these municipalities in terms of their work, in terms of their delivery of services. So where I'm standing and where we're sitting as the ANC, we're very much confident that we are on track and we should be able to get this situation under control going forward. And no wonder why we have been able to intervene in Mohale City. We have been able to intervene in Mfuleni here, where there was a very serious problem, and we're able to unlock all those issues. These are just one or two examples out of many that we have been able to do, including the work that we have done in the Eastern Cape, in Enoch Kichima, where there was a major problem. We have been there on site through the ANC structures and as well as government. And that municipality, as we speak now, it is under control. And the mayor, together with his councillors and everybody there, they are basically occasioned for better performance. We will be engaging with their communities through ANC and as well as government, so that the plan that is on site, it is well accepted and it is well understood by every major stakeholder in that part of the country. With regard to Thabazimbi, whether the decision that was taken of dissolving the council most probably was an ideal under the circumstances, given the extent to which governance and service delivery had collapsed in that part of the country, and the municipality was in a state of the inability to perform its constitutional responsibilities, and therefore there was no any other option than to save that institution and to create an environment for the people of Thabazimbi to once again demonstrate their democratic right to choose a government that will be able to live up to its constitutional mandate. The ANC is hard at work on that area. We are campaigning and we are looking forward to the victory of the African National Congress, where we will install a mayor of the ANC unapologetically, because the people of Thabazimbi deserve better. And mind you, Thabazimbi is one of the major economic development nodes of the Republic, given the endowments that are straddling the landscape of that area from one point to the other, and therefore those endowments to be utilized and expropriated correctly in the interest of the people of Thabazimbi and of South African economy. We need solid, stable political government leadership in that municipality, which will take forward the interests of the people of Thabazimbi. The last question was about the guidelines with regard to ward committees. And I think it presupposes that ward committees throughout the whole country have been invaded, or they are manifested with wrong composition of people who basically are thugs. Some of them are wrong elements from society, and therefore diverting the governance and the responsibilities of those subcommittees. It is expected of the speakers, because elections and appointment of ward committees, it is not just a loose process. It is a matter that is regulated, ran through the office of the speaker, and therefore understandably there is no government process or a system that can be run without consideration of the basic tenets that are encapsulated in the legislative environment of our republic. Being in good standing to lead the people, people of integrity, people of high moral standard, people who basically display a good ethics of leadership, and they are free from any, allegations of whatsoever kind which may dent the image of the ANC, including of those municipal institutions. So it is our belief that these councillors, as they run these processes on electing ward committees, they do consider those matters. And if there is evidence of a ward committee member who is a criminal, who is a thug, who is doing wrong things in those areas, we are looking forward to that information so that we can forward it correctly to those affected municipalities for their resolution and as well as their consideration. I nearly forgot the question about the Johannesburg issue, that there is an allegation that the Secretary of Johannesburg and the Treasurer are practicing what was said here by the Speaker as you were putting forward the question. I think you are correctly saying that is an allegation. And I'm not sure the extent to which I will be able to respond on a matter of allegation, except to say that if there is evidence on these matters, they can be forwarded to the office of the ANC at the Tule House, or if there is a matter in government, it can be forwarded to us in Kokta, including as well as the Premier's office or the MEC's office here in Gauteng province. And on the basis of that information, we will be able to apply our leadership responsibility with regard to fighting crime and corruption, with regard to fighting any display or posturing of malfeasance and malversation which suggests a denting of our image as the African National Congress. So we remain very steadfast, and the reason why we are putting forward this ethical code of leadership for municipal councils to basically adopt in their own councils. It is about raising the standard of ethics. It is about saying to society that the ANC remains an organization that has got a set of values, a set of ethical standards that members and leaders of the ANC are expected to display. And therefore, as you relate with us, as we reconnect with society, as we occupy the lost space in the imaginations of our people, we are putting forward these standards that the renewed ANC, it is not just renewed by a word of mouth, but we are renewing the ANC based on very concrete pronouncement on the standards within which or with which you can hold us accountable in terms of our behavior, in terms of our conduct, and in terms of the leadership that we are able to display. I suppose my colleagues will be able to answer this other question on the electoral reform. Yeah, or I can comment on it as well. Yes. Okay. The ANC has established a task team. In fact, 2 days ago, we received a report from the administrative task team that has been tasked to support the political committee that is managing this electoral reform. These electoral reforms, it is about looking at the entirety of the electoral system of this country from where we're sitting at the moment. Because provincially and as well as nationally, we are based on a proportional representation electoral system that has got its own advantages to a larger extent. And many other stakeholders do have got interest. They are making proposals on how can we remodel the electoral system of this country moving into the future. And therefore the ANC is very much alive and aware of those proposals. And where we are sitting at the moment, we have got our own discussions in relation to the current system of elections, looking at the pros and cons, the advantages and the disadvantages, because without necessarily presupposing the discussions of the Electoral Commission, where we're standing as I'm speaking, we will be making our own submissions, and most probably at the right time when you would want us to unveil the thinking of the ANC with regard to our intentions and our understanding of the future electoral system in this country, which one do we prefer? But understandably where things are at the moment, there are a lot of things that we've got to be able to be alive to. The belief system of the ANC, equally important, is about non-racialism and as well as non-sexism. It is about geographic representation, it's about generational mix, many other factors that goes with leadership selection and as well as consideration at the political representation at the municipal level, provincial level, and as well as national level. So we need to be able to subscribe to a system that will be able to make it easier for South African people to live up to those fundamental principles, and they find concrete expression at the level of actual representation. Other options that have been put forward, they've got other advantages because they are applicable elsewhere in the world, but in the situation within our country, we will be able to believe that the ANC's position on this matter, where we're standing, proportional representation is a very ideal arrangement from where we're sitting. But like I'm saying, we're going to be making those submissions at an appropriate time so that we can be able to allow the Commission to make its determination based on our own presentation going forward. The issue of the Women's League, you will respond to it? Yeah, Comrade Zihle will respond to that one.
All right. Thank you very much, Comrade Masemula. There are two questions, one related to gender parity, the other related to the land expropriation. I will request, I know that Comrade Zihle and Comrade Regina to respond to those questions. Once we've taken colleagues to my left. Shazi?
Yes, Kosnati Shazi from Power FM News. My question is to Ms. Regina. So the consultation period for Electoral is set to come to a close to review clauses 4 and 5, which deals with accessibility to schools and languages. I just wanted to find out, has the ANC been engaging with other political parties, or do you think the bill, once put into law, will be done without any changes in the law?
Thank you very much. We are done this side. Newsroom, you're very silent today. It is okay. Oh no, I didn't mean to provoke you. Yes, Junior.
Okay, Junior Kumalo from Newsroom Africa. My understanding on the discussions around local government is basically to ensure that South Africans experience the changes that are being brought by this government of national unity. But I'm struggling to get any understanding of what exactly is being done. Especially, I heard the suggestion by Mr. Masemula when he spoke about turning around, especially the metros. What exactly are the steps that are being put in place by the ANC to try and ensure the turning around of these metros and local governments? Because they are not coming across to some of us. The ANC is just saying we are doing a lot of work around that. But what exactly is being done? Thank you.
Thank you very much. When comrades respond to that particular aspect, please refer our media colleagues to the work we're doing in eThekwini, the work we're doing in Tswaing with the recent installation of a mayor and MMCs that are serving and pursuing the manifesto of the ANC. All of those elements forming part of our turnaround plan, but our comrades here will elaborate that point. Shall I take it that that is the end of the questions? All right. Thank you very much. I'll invite Comrade Regina as well as Comrade Zihle, and I'll ask Comrade Masemula to close.
Thank you so much, Comrade Mahlengi. And thank you for the question on the consultation on the BELA. You'll remember that the BELA is the last stage of the total transformation of education, which the ANC started just before 1994, as we're preparing, and all the resolutions of the ANC were implemented, including access. Access is key. Equity, redress, and all these other things, and access was hindered by children staying far away from schools. We introduced scholar transport. Those that are poor, we introduce food. We introduce everything that they eat at school, including the program of social development, of giving our children the grant. If we can all recall, it started from 0 to 7, the grant. Then as the ANC, we looked at it, does it help to end it at 0 to 7? Then it went up to 0 to 18, but it took stages. After every policy conference of the ANC, it changes until the last policy conference that said 0 to 18, because it's the same child that was at 0 until the child completes matric. And another resolution was on a free education to deserving learners at tertiary institutions, and that also is implemented. So the last one was this one on Bella, which also allows for exclusion of some kind, and we came up with the amendment to the Schools Act because it allowed that segregation as if we're not one country. That's why we had to come up with Bella. And the two contested clauses are the ones that are addressing the total transformation of education, language policy and admission policy, because they are interrelated. Yes, there are two clauses, but they are interrelated because we can use a language policy to bar other children to come to a particular school. Like if you can take like Marikana. Marikana originally was Setswana speaking, but now most of the people in Marikana are Xhosa speaking. So people of Setswana speaking cannot say in Marikana, this is the not Afrikaans, Setswana speaking school. So we cannot allow Xhosa speaking, or the Xhosa children must be forced to be taught in Setswana. No, they must allow that the two languages must work parallel. We get teachers for Setswana and teachers for Xhosa. Same as schools in towns where in majority of the people were speaking Afrikaans, then the school, the language policy of the schools, that is the Afrikaans school. We're saying we're one South Africa. Let's allow integration. Let's recognize the demographics, that people in the past were pushed to stay away from their workplace. Now people are staying next to their workplace. Then the language policy must consider all those things. So with the negotiation, the parties that have come forward, not all other political parties, but it's AfriForum and Solidarity. Yeah, we are in instant consultation with them. We have almost weekly meetings with them to try to come to the same understanding that we live in one country called South Africa that belongs to all who live in it, and that there's no place that can be reserved for particular people. We all, but when you look at the Bella, it addresses issues of respect of one's culture, respect of one's language, and all these other things. So that's what, as the African National Congress, we believe in inclusivity, we believe in integration, we believe in one nation, that we are one nation in South Africa, but we're not looking the Afrikaners because they think that the Bella Bill has come to wipe Afrikaans. Afrikaans is a South African language. It's only spoken in South Africa. It's a responsibility of the government of South Africa to protect Afrikaans like it protects all the other 11 official languages of the country. When coming to that one of women, the Women's League is very correct that most of the time when you look at the district mayors and metro mayors are males, especially from our own organization, the African National Congress. We are saying as the Women's League, women now have what it takes to take control of any situation. We qualify. Yes, we were suppressed in the past, but now we've surfaced. Let women be given an opportunity to stand up and show their skills. We do have the skills as women. That's why in the event where the premier is a man, we are saying as the Women's League, let the speaker be a woman. And it's just like that. The ANC is listening to the Women's League and the voice of the Women's League. We cannot. Even now when we're saying in the metros and the districts, we want to see women surfacing. It's not to say that it's only a man who can lead a district. We have women that are leading institutions, very dynamic institutions, and they show that they have what it takes as women. So we support that women must be given that chance to run municipalities, not always men. Thank you.
No, thanks and greetings to all of you. Expropriation bill. We are in the 7th administration, and we are coming from the 6th administration, so the GNU is not a first administration. The first administration was under Mandela, second and third under Mbeki, and then we had others, and then we're in the seventh administration. That's for you. You can laugh, it's fine. But we are in the seventh administration, and there are policies that are evolving, and programs are not new. So expropriation bill is not necessarily expropriation that goes with no compensation in a way that requires the review of the Constitution, Section 25. No, it is not that. But it's an expropriation that is meant for socio-economic development and the safety of the people. If we want to ensure that we ensure electricity distribution, we have to expropriate land. And we are doing that as public works, in particular in government. That's a lead department. But you get challenges in a process. And this bill will make it easy, one sign, to expropriate without difficulties. But it will go further to allow government and even local municipalities to expropriate even buildings which are not utilized, especially, which have led into the decay of many of our CBDs. What happened in Johannesburg with the burning of that building could have been avoided if we were able to expropriate that building to be under government. And you find that most of these buildings are owned by the private sector and then get illegally occupied. But there are buildings that are owned by the state that are illegally occupied, and that's why we're speaking about Operation Bring Back, where we are taking back all properties that are illegally occupied, including properties that were not declared to the democratic state during the transition from the apartheid era. So the work that is happening now, most of things that you would see happening were done in the sixth administration. Fight against corruption, as we referred to, whether you talk about dealing with the cyber attack in government at a level of public works, whether we are dealing with the top 50 delayed projects or the top 10 lease, investigation on the top 10 lease, all of that was started by the sixth administration. We've done a lot of work on Welisizwe bridges and on the EPWP, and it is a continuation of the project started from the sixth administration. I think I may add that if the Women's League proposes that if maybe a mayor has been a male and then there must be a female, it is the ANC that is committed to gender equality. It's the ANC. The ANC must make it possible in all aspects and in all spheres to address and advance gender equality. We also stand to inspire other political parties to follow the suit. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you very much once more, colleagues, for those questions. The question from newsroom says they don't see exactly what is being done from the side of the African National Congress to impact the municipal environment and the municipal space at this point in time. I think just to give a few concrete points. Here in Gauteng province, at some point, the ANC was not at the helm of leadership of our municipal institutions. Through a concerted political work and effort that we had to put on the ground, as we speak now here, this metro of Ekurhuleni is run by the ANC mayor. Johannesburg is run by the ANC mayor. In the past few days in Tswaing, we have just been able to emerge there collectively with other parties to reconstitute government and therefore stabilize governance. In a Tekwini metropolitan municipality, I gave an example that there is work on the ground with regard to the stabilization of the city, the extent to which we have established a number of work streams, and those work streams are run and chaired by various national officials, the majority of them being director generals, to make sure that in their areas of work at the national level, whatever support that we put on the ground in that city, in that metro, does give us concrete results on the ground through a coordinated effort with other government departments, including even the private sector. So I could say that the ANC at that level of macro, micro, metro stabilization of our institutions, I think we have done very well. Because what is very important, which I suppose South Africans ought to know, and all of us have to understand, is the fact that key above them all, once there is instability in a government institution, delivery of services gets compromised because decisions cannot be made. Colleagues, councillors find themselves locked in forever conflicts without any focus with regard to actual decisions to stabilize their own metropolitan or their own cities. So the ANC has been able to move from out of that situation of serious instability up to where we are. Going forward, our strong belief is that coalition politics at the municipal level, like we do have them now at the national level through Government of National Unity, it is not just supposed to be a matter of political agreements. We took a very firm view and a decision that we've got to put a legal instrument in place, a legal framework, so that into the future, where there are coalitions, these instabilities of leadership and therefore impacting negatively on governance, on planning, on delivery, on implementation, on the actual evaluation, we should be able to regulate these relations. And therefore, we have taken through the parliamentary processes, and including executive council processes, what we call Municipal Structures Amendment Bill, which we call it a coalition bill. That piece of law, it is aimed at stabilizing relations amongst political parties, so that once a coalition government is established at the municipal level, the coalition agreement, it must not be a gentleman's agreement, it must be a legal standing, which must have a test of time, it must be given space. And that law proposes that once the parties have gone into a coalition, they must at least have a window of 2 years to can think of any possibility of changing mayors and speakers as and when they wake up in the morning. So that those processes of removing a mayor, a speaker, or any municipal office bearer, there should be regulations, there should be a process that guides that particular process. That is one part. Related to the whole situation, I think it is important for us to take note of the fact that governance is a function of leadership. Delivery of services and stability and the effectiveness of our administration is a function of administrative leadership in our municipalities. And therefore the ANC, in moving towards professionalization of local government, we have acknowledged that over a reasonable period of time, things might have not gone quite well with regard to the employment, the identification of the required skills and capacity and other related matters that would have to constitute administrative skills pool and capacity. We have put in place regulations and a framework that says we are basing our appointment going into the future based on qualifications, on experience, on skills, and therefore meritocracy becomes the baseline on how do we move forward into the future. And as if that is not enough, we have built in the system what we call a need for a concurrence. A mayor cannot advertise a post and appoint an official at the senior level without the concurrence of the province, the MEC in particular, without the concurrence of the minister, including myself, where I'm deployed as a deputy minister. Those files, those memorandums ought to come to us, and they say in Maludia Pofung they want to employ an official as technical director, here is the profile, here is the report, do we agree? If the person does not meet the qualifications or the standards, definitely sure that individual might not find his space way into the employment of that municipality. These are concrete legislative reforms that we're putting in place to begin to bring effectiveness, efficiency, and the systems within the administration that will perfect every endeavor that we put in place. And therefore, that is one part. So there are legislative reforms that begins to create a framework that must not be undermined or ignored as we move into the future. All these matters put together, they are placing a huge responsibility on the political leadership of our municipalities to play oversight, to make sure that they live up to their commitments, because administrators can only do their work if they are properly overseen by the councillors. Equally important, these administrators ought to take their full responsibility as managers of those municipal entities. So I can say that concretely, there are things that we are doing as the African National Congress to begin to gradually, get this situation out of the difficulties within which it finds themselves in. Finally, we take full responsibility because the people of South Africa know that the ANC is their organization. Even in areas where we are not in charge politically at the municipal level, the fact that the ANC is present, the people expect the ANC to take full responsibility, and that is wonder why we are moving very hard, applying strategy and tactics, applying all the tools of analysis to make sure that we restore stability, we restore order, we restore governance, we perfect our tools of governance and as well as administration in the interest of the people of this country. So that is the extent to which at the metro levels we are doing these matters. At the municipal level, including even the districts, we have put together what is called a district development model. These overarching policy instrument which the President of the Republic of South Africa, President Ramaphosa, has introduced. The reason why it is important, where there are political relations of governance, because mayors, they are the heads of local state, you understand, and constitutionally they've got responsibilities and powers, and therefore to coordinate, to make sure that they work as a collective, we had to put a system in place that obliges them to be working together so that they can plan together, they can deploy their resources together, they can lead together. There is no mayor who can lead as a single entity elsewhere together with his own municipal institution. And these are very serious policy, legislative reforms that the ANC is putting in place, forward-looking, so that we can begin to bring that stability within the process. But all said and done, this is not the end, colleagues. We are committing ourselves and calling upon our mayors to work very hard, provide people with services, with water, with sewer. They must fill up potholes in their own local spaces. In fact, we have declared war against potholes. We are very certain about the efforts that the Department of Water Affairs, working together within the IMC, that interministerial committee, that all these services that are so much required by our people must be provided. In conclusion, 26 years into local government transformation system, we have reached a policy horizon of this local government system. We are expected now to review the 1998 white paper on local government, because part and largely some of the difficulties that our municipalities are experiencing, they are not necessarily out of their own making. Okay, there are issues that they must solve, they must resolve out of their own creation. And that's where we are basically working very hard. But for a future local government system 50 years from today, we've got to rethink on the model of local government. And therefore, the review of the white paper is to address the basic assumptions that were made in 1998. Some of those assumptions, as we speak now, 26 years into this system, they can no longer hold. They need to be adjusted so that you position this system much more better from a financing point of view, from a legislative point of view, from the system's point of view. And no wonder why in the past few days we have launched what we call at COCTA, District Development Model National Strategic Hub, as a repository or a data information storage, so that we begin to infuse in the leadership and management capacities of our municipalities the utilization and the appreciation of the importance of data for insightful leadership, but also proper planning and evaluation. All these matters, they are about policy reforms, they are about leadership perfection, they are about raising standards, they are about trying to work very hard to educate our councillors, and most probably these ones, because they are in the afternoon of their own terms. As we move into the next elections of local government, the ANC is working very hard to make sure that in 2026 we reclaim all the metros, all the localities, all the districts in the country, because our plan remains very firm and very committed moving into the future. And that's what we can say briefly this time in point, chairperson of the session, this national spokesperson. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, colleagues, and thank you very much to the three members of the NEC who are deployed in government, who have come here to account to the people about the work we're doing in the areas that have been designated for today. That then brings us to an end of this particular session. We will reconvene as per the updated advisory. We will reconvene this afternoon for our final briefing on matters related to economic transformation, including the transportation would also form part of that discussion. I'd like to thank yourselves, comrades, and thank members of the media for making the time for this engagement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, yes,